Welcome to the Escapart Podcast. My name is Stuart and thank you for listening. One of the reoccurring questions I keep getting asked is, what's the difference between being a magician and being an escapologist? And before we get into those who have years of experience of escapology saying, well, how would you know you're neither a magician or an escape artist? I do reserve the right to at least talk about the subject from my point of view. I may not be constantly on tour, but I am approaching this from a very academic point of view. So, whilst this may offend some purists, it's not meant to be a shot across anyone's bows. It is simply a discussion point, because there is a lot of academic interest in the field of magic, not in terms of how do you do the tricks, but think about it. Every day we expose ourselves to media manipulation, be it in the form of advertising, be it in the form of spin, be it in the form of someone trying to convey their message, their point of view, their proposal ahead to us of somebody else's equally rational point of view. The most telling example of this I remember seeing in something that wasn't magic related was in the documentary Super Size Me. A group of people, Americans, had journeyed to the White House, to the cradle of the capital of the United States, to be in the presence of the cradle of their democracy. And they were asked by the filmmaker, can you recount the Pledge of Allegiance? And they couldn't. Could they remember the theme song from McDonald's, i.e. that it's two all beef pate, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun? And they did. And that's because it's constantly being reinforced. And this opens up a thought process, because we constantly reinforce things as magicians that, yes, this is a legitimate pair of handkerchiefs that I'm using. The hat is empty. My hands are empty. All of these are true, but they are reinforced in such a way as to convey the message. So who better than a magician? Who better than an escapologist, a manipulator, a mentalist, to discuss spin? Who better than someone with a knowledge base of the darker arts of convincing someone that, yep, absolutely, you can walk into Halfords and buy a water torture cell. Seriously, go to B&Q. Go to B&Q today. It's kitchenware, doors, garden furniture, escapology equipment. And if you go bit to the left, bit to the right, and go over the back, you'll notice there's the authentic water torture cell made famous by Houdini. Then you get the more modern versions, and you get to the clear plastic boxes this side that can hold 50 gallons and are watertight and won't break and flood stages. You can't do that. I can't walk into Tesco. I can't walk into George at Asda and walk across and buy a straitjacket off the rack. I can't walk into my local store of the range, who constantly are saying, if we haven't got it, you don't need it. Well, I would love a zigzag. I would love a device to place a lady in there, put all the pies in. I'd love a copy of the Radium Girl. I would love a working, fully restored version of the Radium Girl. Is it possible? Do they have it at the range? No. Well, apparently I don't need it then. I want it, but I don't need it. And this raises the question: at what point do we reinforce to people that this is a perfectly legitimate piece of equipment to have? Because people they expect to be tricked by magicians. They do not expect to be tricked by escapologists, because the whole point of the separation between an escapologist and a magician is the escapologist is doing it for real. And I'm sorry to labour this point, but it's the separation between James Bond and Batman. James Bond and Batman can be described exactly the same way. They both drive really cool cars. They both have costumes or clothing that is stylistically representing of them as a character. They constantly are hanging out with women who are inappropriately dressed. They are they have lots of wonderful gadgets and toys, and they are at the epitome of their physical strength and are great detectives. The only difference between Batman, Bruce Wayne, James Bond, 007, is that in the next comic panel, in the next scene of the film, in the next move that Batman makes, he can turn round and talk to an alien. He can do something supernatural. An escapologist can't, because as soon as the escapologist does that, He is introducing the element that I am doing something that now requires you to believe in the supernatural. Everything else I've done till now required you to believe me to be a mortal man. And that is that gear shift, it is that separation, it is that defining line between what makes an escapologist and what makes a magician. Equally, there is no defining line between what makes a magician and an escapologist a media expert or a person who is good at presenting information a certain way or spin. And this is something that I think we are losing out on. You can see a great deal of very intelligent people being manipulated by very basic magic tricks because they are not used to the they haven't got the defense mechanisms for it. We have seen in many a documentary and in the writings of James Randi how very learned people are confused because they think they are being approached on a level playing field, and they're not. The person they're coming from is coming from an oblique angle, but it seems as though they're coming straight on, and as a result that is what causes so much consternation, where we see very intelligent scientists falling for very simple magic tricks in the same way as we see very intelligent people falling for incredibly simple bits of media manipulation. And that brings this whole conversation back round to 2 all beef pate, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Can you recount the Pledge of Allegiance? No. And therein is the thing. If we had an opportunity as performers, we have the Journal of Performance Magic, we have many symposia where we talk about this, but there is such a knowledge base in escapology, in magic, that if applied academically to business studies, if applied academically to any trait, be it art. I have a wonderful thoughts and conversations on the artistic side of escapology, the visuals of it, the dynamics of it, how it can conjure fear or a visceral reaction in someone. If you do your performance well, people will be standing and applauding at the end of it because they've gone on that journey with you. It is theatre in its simplest form. You're just bringing in great special effects, or great practical effects, I should say. But the reality is that we don't, because we have these inbuilt demarcation lines, much as the same way as the demarcation line between escapology and magic. But those demarcation lines do not need to be there. We should engage about business. We should talk about entrepreneurship. Who better than someone who's travelled the world performing, busking, or performing in different countries, generating business, promoting their own brand, their own product? Who better than that to talk about how do you develop, how do you motivate people, how do you get people to come and see you, how do you get that work? That's a very simple real world solution or real world story that can be used academically to cross-reference the works of Taylor, Fordism. You can show all of these academic theories and give a real world reference, but that reference comes from the non-exposure stories of escapology. Some of Houdini's early work, some of Houdini's early stories are about him working with no revealing of the secret, but when you talk to people and you see how he worked and how he worked with groups and how he worked with people and how he worked to reinforce his own image, when you read the press releases, you read the emotive language, you can see a spin doctor at work. And yet we don't have that discussion as part of a media studies course. We don't have that discussion as part of a grander story of how escapologists are entrepreneurs, how we're engineers, how we're able to go off and do great and wonderful things. And I think that's in a way a bit of a tragedy. Also, what's been a bit of a tragedy has been my very lax updating of the podcast of late, and for that I can only apologise. I have been working on some InVision work. Some of it hasn't met the standard that I would like it to be. As a result, I'm back to doing voice and mic, so thank you for listening. Emphasis on the listen. We'll update this on YouTube, and there'll be another one coming in a couple of days. But for right now, I had just to update you. We've got a few more minutes, so I'll just quickly fill this in. I had a brilliant time at the UKEA 2017. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a great opportunity. A lot was learnt, and I just must pay tribute to all the all the performers there, some of the mechanical geniuses behind there, the escapologists there, all of the performers who were there. It was great to see you. Some people weren't able to make it, and they are missed. They are lamented, and it's just unfortunate that they weren't able to attend. I do hope some of them will be able to attend in the future, and more importantly, it was just a wonderful experience. I got to see incredible designs of apparatus that I hadn't even begun to thought of, let alone start putting into effect. I got to see a world first in the first 2-person straitjacket escape by the DeVals, and that was absolutely amazing. Big shout out to them. Excellent lectures from Weasel Dandor. Brilliant information on all sorts of restraints again, and it is an opportunity. If you're interested in escapology, I'll say it again, if you're interested in escapology, do get in touch with the UKEA, and if it's something that you can come along to one of the events they're involved in. We've got wonderful events coming up this year. There's some excellent events coming up. I'll be talking about them in another podcast, hence not clogging up the bandwidth, but also making up for some of the lax updates of late. But just right now, thank you all for listening, and hopefully this will be up sometime before the 22nd of March. So again, thanks for the miles.